back into the F100 for this episode. The tub is off the car, it's up on the bench and I am working on it. There is still a few things I need to do on that, but this car's getting ready to go, to get some engineering done, all that sort of thing. But for this episode, going to be doing these custom door handles. In this video, I'll be going about how I did this opening, getting all your gaps really nice to your handle, mounting that handle up into the door skin, and then customizing the pillar as well, because the latch system and all that's changing as well to an updated system. So everything in here, it is all modern, and all of that stuff needs to be customized and changed. So we'll get into this. I hope you enjoyed, and also cheers for all the guys that have been following along on the channel. Reached about 10,000 now, so cheers for that. If you're interested, you want to see more of these builds, help the channel grow. And thank you for watching in on all the videos, and I hope you guys have learnt stuff while you've been watching these videos. And that's one of the main things, is getting you into the cars, getting you into learning a few things, little tips and tricks, whatever. And yeah, I'm glad you guys have enjoyed and followed along. We'll get into this build and hope you guys enjoy. This is the door handle that's going to be used in this build. Quite a modern handle and all electronical, all that sort of stuff. Only just fits in the door with the window, but we're going to make this thing fit. So what I'm going to do is do an opening for this door handle with this press plate here, which I've got the shape cut out that I need. I've got these blanks here. I'll be laying these blanks in between, cutting out a little bit, and I only need 90 degrees, but that is just going to give me a nice crisp edge all the way around. So that can sit up on this rubber here and go into this rubber and fully seal off this door handle. I'll be putting this plate in between, doing a bit of a cutout, and then hammering over to 90 degrees down into here, because that's all I need to sit in here. So we'll put that in and hammer out a nice little opening for this door handle. I've changed the shop around a little bit, changed the layout, making a bit more room on the weekend. So a little bit nicer, got more room. I can fit another job in here, which is good. But now I've hammered these into shape. I've now pretty much got a trim about 25 mil all the way around this, and then I can weld that into the door. So this is too much material, but that material is just to clamp it down inside the jig. But then now I'll trim that off, and then that smaller piece will be welded into the door. I've got to fit these door handles to the actual skin. So I need to be able to fit this handle in and have these working. So what I'm thinking is it kind of needs a pin, a thread that's going to go through this point here and then to the door skin, because of the window rail coming through the back, you can't have a bolt from the frame coming all the way in. So the options you have, you can put a pin through and weld to the skin, opening the door, that's going to end up buckling the skin and then disforming it, all that sort of stuff. So I've traced the shape out here and then I've got on some paper exactly where those holes need to go. So I'm going to get some thicker metal, shape it to the shape of that inner door skin, and then weld off the pins to that thicker material, creating a bigger surface area for where these doors are going to be opening on this door so the skin doesn't buckle and then that pin end up cracking and falling off. So that'll come through, bolt up here and be pressing that into that opening, having that nice flush bit in here. And doing that, I need to wheel up that shape, get it to the right shape of the skin, and then fit this up. And then from there, I'll actually end up putting that plate on, and instead of welding it to the skin and distorting it, I'm going to use that body glue that they weld, rear quarter panels, that sort of thing, and that plate is actually going to be glued onto the skin with a very strong body panel glue. So that thing will be very rigid and create a good surface area for this to be able to bolt on. I'm going to cut just the door handle size out of this, then that way I can put this on the door skin and line it up and get a template for the curve that I need at the finishing points. So I'm lining this up. What you can do is you can measure from here to there and there to there, and that'll give you a point, but just quick while I'm doing this, I could just mark that there, mark that here, and then I know my curvature point in where I've lined this up here. I need to shape the inner panel from that point to this point here, and then do the pins. This is a complete plate ready to get glued on. I'll cleco through there onto the door skin to hold that in place. But these are the pins that hold this into place. So that'll line up in there, and there's the opening in through there. That way the door handle can come along, and when that's put on there, that can bolt up and be pushed into the door skin, because that will be attached to the door skin with that glue. So that basically will sit on this plate. I've got these little bits here, just a little 3D printed thing, which will be a flat platform for the nut to be able to go onto. And I've run these through the lathe, which was just a bolt, so that gives me a nice clean surface to weld to. Knock that off, nice little round bit to be able to do a nice little weld around. They just pop up underneath here, and then that sits on top. That'll go through, locate, line up, and you drop that pin and it'll hold it into its position. I can sneak under there, get a tack weld, take that handle off, fully weld it up, and then be able to cut that little opening out, and then they can just go straight in the door skin. Just here, I'm cutting out just the door handle width, this width here. That way I can fit it up in there snugly, line it up, and then tack those pins off. This door handle is now lined up. Now just dropping the pins in, and then I can tack this off. So this is how the handle bolts up in the back. It's got these little bits here, these nuts go on, and then that pulls against the skin coming off those pins there. So that's the handle fitted up, and this is going to be an access point that the owner wanted to be able to connect things up inside there. And I've got this plate that'll go over the top of that. So got to fit that up, but what I need to do is make this modern door catch be able to fit inside here. So I'll make up a plate, make something up to fit into here. That catch is going to sit in here somewhere. I'll figure out where that's got to go, but I need this to be able to see where that can go, and then move on to making that bit there as well. And then in here, this is all going to have to change up in here as well. So wherever that striker sits as well, that pin for the new latch, that's going to have to be modified down in here as well for that to be able to fit too. For this little hinge point here, I've done a bit of a paper template, and I've cut out this shape that's down in here, which is that bit there. That's where the pin on the door is going to come through and lock in. So I've got the little holes which I'm going to have to put a dimple so that screw can come up in there nice. And then got my fold point on here, down in through here. I'm going to fold that round 90 to sit over there, do that dimple for the bolt area, and then that 40mm bit here, that's just so I can trim it back, put a little bit of angle, fit that in, basically get that inside the door, and then we can muck around with the pillar a little bit for that pin, for that to be able to come through and then lock down onto. So we'll get this part done first into the door, and then get that pin sorted out, and then we've got modern door handle and modern locks as well. So that'll feel good when it shuts on the door, and it'll work with push button, all that sort of stuff. So that's going to be pretty cool. I don't get YouTube strikes yet. They don't like it when I've got the music going. Yep. So what I've done here, using that punch that I've just turned a bit of a shape to, and then a socket. So I can put that hole over the socket, give it a tap, and that'll give me that dimple for the bolt, that bolt comes into this lock. So that's how you get that little dimple. And then you can take that socket off, put it on the back side, give it a little tap just to flatten it back off, and then that'll be perfect. Everything's fitted up in through here, so locking mechanism is in, so all this is all welded up and fitted up in here, so that's all working. And then door handle's in place as well. Hit the key on the button, that'll come open like that, grab the handle, open up the door. So that's all fitted up, and because this here has to step out to be able to fit everything in there with the window rail, when that door shuts, it's going to come really close to that edge and not fully close in there. There is this notch in here. I do need to notch it kind of from about sort of this area here, notch it from sort of there to there, in around kind of that area there. I'll notch that, and then just this bit in here, fill that in, blank that off, notch this little bit, and I've got to do a floating cage for this bit here. That bit, I'll be able to, that'll be the catch, that'll go in there, and then for the bolts that go in here, I'll just have it in that notch area floating in a cage so it can sort of move around there for fine adjustment sort of thing. Fit all that up, and then these doors will be complete. So that's it for this episode. A little bit of modern twist, adding some updated stuff here into these doors, and the customer's really digging it. So this thing's ready to go, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode, and I'll catch you on the other builds.